In this video, I'm going to talk about how your consciousness determines what reality you perceive. When we think about reality, we often assume that there's only one, as in one master reality that just exists with time and space, and everyone exists in it as in the same reality at the same time. Like there's only this one Earth and we all exist on it at this point in time. Today I will dive into why this view is not accurate and how reality actually is instead. However, I know this is my view, and my view is not commonly shared by the majority of people. You don't have to believe anything I say, just maybe take it as an inspiration that our science today is not complete and that other options exist. One of the greatest scientists of all time, Nikola Tesla, once said the following: if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. To me, this is by far the most relevant quote of this decade. I myself have experienced, applied, and lived this quote day in and day out on my journey of becoming a greater human being. There are a multitude of physical experiments that prove that fundamental entities of the universe, such as electrons, protons, photons, and even molecules, exhibit both wave and particle-like behavior depending on the circumstance. The double-slit experiment is the most famous one. For this very reason, the concept of wave-particle duality was introduced. Before I dive into what this means, I'd first like to talk about our own point of view. Hi, I'm Sophia and I'm passionate about quantum physics and spirituality. On this channel, I'll talk about how both can be combined and how you can apply this knowledge to shift into your desired reality. If that sounds interesting to you, subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. I think you can agree with me when I say that you have experienced reality from your point of view and your point of view only. In your head, you have different versions of the people around you than, for example, with your parents or your neighbor. The unfolding of your life has, in a sense, caused you to have different opinions and assumptions about the world around you and the people who live in it. What I mean by that is that your experiences so far, whether they were good or bad, traumatic or benevolent, have caused you to view the world as a good or bad place and the people in it as monsters or saints. Of course, not that black and white, but you get what I mean. This causes you to perceive the world and reality from your perspective, and that is different from the perspective of everyone else. You experience reality your way, as does everyone else in their own way. Now, would you still argue it's all the same master reality? If everyone creates their versions of people around them and the objects and the things that are existent in this reality, it cannot just be one by definition. If everyone creates their own Earth, there's no one master reality, then who could possibly perceive it? If you ask another human, it is still Earth from their perspective, meaning reality is always subjective and always subjectively created. We don't know if our world would exist if no one is there to observe it. We cannot test this either. Certainly your version of reality wouldn't exist if you wouldn't exist. Everything around us is energy, people, objects, even thoughts. Your brain interprets this energy. For example, the energy of an apple makes you perceive an apple, and so on and so forth. If you have another human in front of you, you can get a general idea whether they have good or bad energy, as in good or bad vibes. Your brain senses their energy, and in accordance with your own worldview and beliefs, you create their version of them in your reality. Now back to the wave-particle duality I mentioned in the beginning. Everything around us exists as waves. Yes, everything. And no, it's not woo-woo, but literally scientifically proven for over a century. Physicists argue that wave-particle duality only applies at the smallest level, like atoms and so on, not in a macroscopic world. My objection is that every single object is still made of the smallest units. Just because it can't be observed macroscopically doesn't mean the behavior is not there microscopically. You can't say particles behave like waves And just because a certain amount of atoms couple together, they suddenly don't. For physicists, this is a mathematical issue because they cannot calculate the wave function for billions of atoms simultaneously. Still, doesn't mean the wave function doesn't apply though. It's just too complex to calculate. In the experiments conducted, specifically the double-slit experiment, I came across the term observer a lot. Even Einstein's relativity theory mentions that time is relative to the observer. The observer in the experiment is relevant in that sense that they literally change the outcome of the experiment. When you observe photons or electrons, they change their state from wave to particle. To describe this wave state, you use the wave function. So in quantum mechanics, a particle is described by wave function, a mathematical description which contains all the information about its possible states such as position, momentum, spin, etc. Before measurement, the wave function is in superposition, meaning it represents many possible outcomes at once, each with its own probability. When you observe photons or electrons, they change their state from wave to particle. This is called wave function collapse. The very act of observing or measuring causes a wave function collapse. Now, the very reason I made this video, you are the observer. You caused the wave function collapse, the very collapse from wave to particle. But not you only. Every single person causes this collapse in their respective reality, every single moment. We each collapse the very waves in front of us, and this particleizes in our respective viewpoints of the world. This is why I can perceive whatever is in front of me, and you can perceive whatever is in front of you. From your point of view, your consciousness collapses superposed states exactly in the way that you can perceive your reality. That would not be possible if you weren't there to observe it. Now let's see what Wikipedia says on this. In various interpretations of quantum mechanics, wave function collapse, also called reduction of the state vector, a single point if you will, occurs when a wave function, initially in a superposition of several eigenstates, being in all states at the same time, reduces to an eigenstate due to an interaction with the external world. This interaction is called an observation and is the essence of a measurement in quantum mechanics. In physics, they call it interaction with the external world, but guess who has to observe the interaction in order to make a statement about it? Yep, you, or another physicist, or any other person who then interprets what they're seeing. Also, every object, detector included, is created by your consciousness in your respective reality. Everything in your reality is an extension of you, meaning if the particle interacts with the detector is still a part of you. That's why the collapse happens, because of the interaction with the observer. The observer being the entire reality in which the collapse happens. Since I'm not a physicist in the sense that I study physics at an institution, I don't have to limit myself in my expression and succumb to the world of scientific community. I'd like to call myself a spiritual scientist, which means I don't have to get hung up by certain expressions like interaction with the external world and interpret the world as this dead space of matter. In fact, it's an enormous advantage for me to see the world through my eyes. The matter in this world is influenced by your consciousness directly. You are the observer, and you are what observes the interaction with the external world. Without you, there would be no observer. Assuming that reality is a projection of your consciousness, there would be no reality either. I know what I'm implying here, and I'm grateful that we're not 200 years back and I would have probably been hanged for blasphemy. Precisely what I've described is the reason that I can now start to introduce the concept of everything is here and now. It's the same here and now, just with different perceived particle collapses, infinite particle collapses, in different orders, all connected to your consciousness. which makes you able to experience those collapses in a coherent way, that being the story of your life in this time and space. I like this video to be an inspiration for everyone not to limit themselves ever in their thinking and their expression. For me personally, this video marks a new paradigm of science. It is about time to follow what Nikola Tesla said over a decade ago. The day science begins to study non-physical phenomena, it will make more progress in 1 decade than in all the previous centuries of its existence. That decade starts now. I can only talk for myself, and quite frankly, in spiritual communities, this concept is common knowledge. The difference, though, is that I would like to make spiritual concepts accessible for the scientific community, a community where spirituality is rather looked down upon. I'd like to invite the world of science to open up their minds so we can make progress as collective humanity. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions at all, comment below or reach out to me via info@sophiagastner.com. Please like, share, and subscribe this video so this video can go out to as many people as possible. Thank you. See you on the next one. Bye.